Most men approach physical connection with hesitation, as if they're seeking approval before they even make contact. And that's precisely why nothing ever ignites. When you reach for her hand like you're unsure, when you drape your arm over her shoulder like you're waiting for a green light, when your fingertips land on her back carrying uncertainty, she senses it. Not just the contact itself, but the insecurity behind it. And in that instant, something inside her quiets down. The part of her that was beginning to open simply shuts off. Here's what no one really explains: a mature woman doesn't fall for polished words. She isn't captivated solely by appearance or impressed by your job title. She falls for the way she feels in her own skin when you're around. And that feeling begins with touch. Not the obvious kind most men assume, but something deeper. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 specific types of touch that move past her logic, soften her defenses, and create an emotional pull she can't easily step away from. These aren't tricks. They're not calculated maneuvers. They're the language her nervous system understands when words aren't enough. And when you learn to speak that language, you stop chasing attraction. You start generating it. Before we go further, let's make something clear. This is not about aggression. It's not about pushing limits or forcing momentum. That approach fails with a woman who is emotionally intelligent, self aware, and experienced. What I'm sharing comes from attachment psychology, neuroscience, and years of observing what truly creates lasting desire between two people. Not what sounds impressive, not what looks good in films, what actually works in real life with real women who know the difference between a boy seeking validation and a man who truly understands her. Most advice tells you when to initiate touch or where to place your hand, but almost no one talks about the energy behind it, the intention, the grounded presence. And that's where everything shifts. A mature woman has been touched by men who wanted something from her. Men who touched to prove a point, men who were anxious, entitled, or performing. She's tired of that. What she hasn't experienced enough of, what she's been waiting for, is a man who touches her from a place of inner peace, a man who isn't trying to arrive somewhere, a man whose touch feels like an offering, not a request. That's what these 7 touches represent. And by the end of this video, you'll understand not only how to touch her, but why each one works on a level she feels but can't always explain. Stay with me because the 5th one is the one most men will never attempt. And it's the one that lingers in her mind long after you've left. Let's start with why most men fail before they even begin. You meet a woman, there's chemistry. You talk, you laugh. Maybe you're grabbing coffee or sharing drinks. The conversation flows, she's engaged, and then nothing shifts. You either don't touch her at all, or when you do, it's timid. A quick tap on the arm, a fleeting brush of the hand, so neutral and safe that it barely registers. Or you swing the other direction. You touch too soon, too much, too randomly. Your hand lands on her lower back before there's connection. You grab her hand without emotional buildup. You hug her goodbye like you're trying to manufacture a spark through force. In both scenarios, the result is identical. She feels nothing, not because she's distant, not because she isn't interested, but because your touch didn't match the emotional frequency she was in. It was either invisible or intrusive. Here's the core mistake: you think touch is something you do. So you either overanalyze and freeze, or you treat it like a step on a checklist and push it. But for her, touch is not an action, it's a conversation. If your touch communicates nervousness or agenda, it doesn't matter how strong the chemistry was moments before. She'll pull back. Maybe not visibly, maybe not consciously, but energetically, she'll create distance. And once that wall rises, you're working uphill. So think about this. When was the last time you touched a woman and felt her lean into you rather than simply allow it? When did your touch shift her breathing, soften her posture, pull her attention completely towards you? If the answer isn't recent or never, then pay close attention. What you're about to learn isn't theory. It's the difference between being forgettable and unforgettable. Before we dive into the seven touches, you need to understand three psychological triggers that make touch effective with a mature woman. Without these, you're just going through motions. Trigger number one: certainty without agenda. A mature woman has felt the hesitation of uncertain men countless times. Men who reach for her and pause midway. Men who monitor her reaction as they touch, seeking silent approval. Their hands feel like question marks instead of statements. And each time, attraction fades, not because she's judging, but because uncertainty disrupts safety. And emotional safety at a nervous system level is what allows desire to surface. Here's the paradox: she doesn't crave loud dominance. She craves decisiveness. When you touch her, she doesn't want you asking permission with your energy. She wants you grounded, present, clear, not ignoring boundaries, but not performing for validation either. Think about how you touch your steering wheel, your phone, your jacket. There's no hesitation, no second guessing. That's the energy. When she feels that steadiness in your touch, something ancient inside her relaxes. Certainty without agenda signals a man who isn't desperate, manipulative, or pretending. Without that, nothing else works. Trigger number two: escalation through stillness. Most men believe escalation means doing more, moving faster, climbing a ladder from hand to waist to kiss. But that's not how her body experiences connection. For a mature woman, escalation isn't about quantity, it's about depth. It's not touching more places, it's staying long enough in one place for her to actually feel you. When you touch and immediately pull away, her nervous system never processes it. It's like hearing 2 seconds of a song: no resonance, no emotional imprint. But when you touch and remain there, truly present, something changes. She becomes aware of you, not just physically, but emotionally. The longer you stay grounded in that moment, the more her mind catches up to her body. And in that pause, attraction grows. Stillness isn't weakness, it's power. It communicates, I'm not rushing, I don't need to prove anything. I'm comfortable right here. And when she feels that, her body relaxes into the moment instead of anticipating the next move. Trigger number three: touch that carries emotion, not intention. This is what separates boys from men. A boy touches because he wants something: validation, approval, sex. His touch carries transaction. Even if subtle, she senses it. A man touches because he genuinely feels something, not to make her react, not to follow a script, but because he's present with what's already there. A mature woman has spent years being touched by men who were mentally elsewhere, planning their next move, strategizing. She's exhausted by that. What she longs for is a man who touches her as if the touch itself is enough. When there's no hidden motive, she feels seen as a person, not an object. And that's when her defenses soften, not because you push through them, but because she chooses to lower them. Now, let's get into the seven touches. Touch number one: the grounded palm on her lower back. When you're walking beside her, entering a space, crossing the street, place your full palm on her lower back, not fingertips, your whole hand. Let it rest there for several seconds, long enough for her to feel the weight and steadiness. This touch communicates awareness and protection without possession. It's attentive without clinging, because it's her lower back, a space casual acquaintances rarely touch. It creates intimacy without being overtly sexual. She feels guided, not controlled. Touch number two: the intentional handhold with subtle thumb movement. When you hold her hand, don't just clasp and move, hold it fully. Then gently move your thumb in small circles across the back of her hand or along her palm. This demands presence. You can't do it absent-mindedly. It says, I want to be here with you. It creates a quiet moment of intimacy during silence, during shared stillness. It often makes her glance at you with a soft smile she can't quite explain. Touch number three: the forehead or temple touch. When she's overwhelmed or sharing something vulnerable, lightly touch her forehead or temple for a few seconds. It conveys reassurance and care. I see you. You're not alone. For a woman accustomed to carrying strength for everyone else, this can feel unexpectedly comforting. It builds emotional safety quickly. Touch number four: The anchored shoulder hold. Place your hand on her shoulder when she's speaking or when you're saying goodbye. Let it stay. Be still. Maintain eye contact. It communicates full attention. It grounds the moment. Stillness amplifies the connection more than endless compliments ever could. Touch number 5, the two-hand face hold. When the tension is right, gently cup her face with both hands. Slowly, intentionally. Hold her gaze. Say nothing for a moment. This freezes time. It's vulnerable and bold at once. It says, "You matter. This moment matters." Most men avoid it because it feels intense, but that intensity is precisely what makes it unforgettable. Touch number 6, the waist pull. Standing face to face, when there's energy between you, place your hand at her waist and gently draw her closer. Slow, deliberate. It clearly communicates desire without aggression. If she leans in, you've moved from curiosity into real attraction. Touch number 7, the lingering goodbye. When you hug her goodbye, hold for a couple seconds longer. Let one hand rest on her lower back, the other on her shoulder blade. As you step away, let your hand trail softly down her arm. This creates a subtle sense of absence before you're even gone. It leaves her wondering why it felt different. That curiosity lingers. All 7 only work if they're genuine. If you perform them mechanically, she'll feel the emptiness. If you use them to manipulate, she'll sense it. Start with what feels natural. Practice 1. Be fully present. Watch how she responds, not just with words, but with breath, posture, energy. Once you understand this language, you stop convincing with talk. You communicate through presence. If this resonates, I've created a free guide called The Grounded Man Blueprint. It breaks down masculine presence, body language, conversational energy, and the internal shifts that make you naturally magnetic. You'll find it in the description. Men who truly grasp this don't chase women, they become the space women choose. Remember this: a mature woman doesn't fall in love with your actions alone. She falls in love with who you are in her presence. And touch is how she feels that truth. Be present, be certain, be emotionally honest. Touch her like a man who understands that this moment is enough. If this shifted something for you, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me which touch surprised you most. Attraction isn't created by trying harder, it's allowed by becoming more fully yourself. I'll see you in the next one.